Hey everyone, it's Plan Free YouTube Growth Tips. We're going to share with you today our experience going through the process of hiring an editor on Fiverr. The process of hiring an editor on Fiverr came about because our main channel, Plan Free, which is a travel and lifestyle channel, had grown to the point where it was making enough money to where we could start to delegate some of the tasks that were taking up the majority of our time. And the majority of our time by far was taken up through the editing process. Anybody out there, can you relate to that? If you're a creator, a content creator on YouTube, I think you probably can.
Yeah.
The main channel was now making about $100 a month, and we thought, let's put most or all of this money towards hiring an editor towards a budget for that. The first resource we looked at was Fiverr. We're going to do our best today to take you through that process and how we experienced it. It began with us setting up a profile and an account on Fiverr, punching in our details, getting that all set up. Once that was taken care of, the first thing we did was went into their search feature and typed in the service that we were looking for, which in our case was how to hire an editor for YouTube videos. We also put out a general inquiry on this platform stating basically the same. And this created a variety of responses that came back to us with widely varying prices, anywhere from below our budget to above our budget and everywhere in between. It was then time to begin sifting through these replies, which was mostly Lori's endeavor, to see if we could find one or three of the right people that met that balance between our budget and their skill level. And to state again, our budget was between $100 to $120 a month US. We thought we could probably hire out 3 to 4 videos per month edited with this money. We were going to find out if this was realistic or even possible. Lori, how many editors would you say you sifted through before we approached the first one on Fiverr?
Well, I probably sifted through 8 to 10 different editors. And again, after we set up the profile in Fiverr, like Air said, Fiverr kind of walked us through who we were and what we were there for. By answering their little survey questionnaire, the Fiverr system actually propagated a bunch of responses back to us that we didn't ask for, I didn't search for. So I sifted through, sorry, we're just in rural Ecuador at the moment, so you'll hear some motor scooters, birdies. One moment.
Mm-hmm. You'll notice that our YouTube studio isn't like your typical, teal light on this side, pink light on this side with perfect lighting and audio. We travel full time, 6 months a year, so you'll probably rarely see more than 1 or 2 videos from the same location from us. Like Lori mentioned, we are smack dab in the middle of nowhere, Ecuador right now, and so if you're here for perfect lighting and audio,
Sorry.
I would say just disregard that and focus on what we're talking about, which I
Right.
think will help you grow on YouTube.
All right, so back to what we did on Fiverr. So by filling in their Fiverr questionnaire, it actually propagated a bunch of potential people for us to hire. And so not only did I do my own search through the video editors provided on Fiverr, but Fiverr spat out quite a few potentials, at least 10, that said they fit our criteria. So we had a whole bunch of work to do in the beginning to really sift through.
Mm-hmm.
But I probably looked for my own about 8 different editors that I kind of vetted myself. So Air gave me a budget that we wanted to work with. We were really hoping to get about 1 video a week edited. Well, with 100 US, we just did the division, and so that gave us about $25 to work with.
Sorry, Spanish. Speaking a lot of Spanish these days.
That's really funny. About 25 to 30 US per video to work with. So I kind of had a range, and I know that's pretty low because holy smokes, the editors that we saw available really range into the hundreds depending on skill level. So we needed to make that balance. So when I was reviewing the 8 or so potentials that I found, First I looked at, well, what do they charge and what do we get for what they charge? And if they met the basic criteria that fit within our budget, then I would send out blurbs. I probably sent out not so many, maybe 4 to 6 blurbs. One little tip there would be that I actually searched in countries that were not based in North America. I looked a little bit in Europe, I looked in Asia, the Middle East, for countries that had generally a lower cost of living than Canada or the USA. And I started there because I think our money would go a little bit further. And so now it was just a matter of finding out, well, does the skill level match what we're looking for? We're not looking for the moon, but we're looking for a nice video that's pleasant to watch, flows well, etc.
Mm-hmm. And most of the editors we've used, I think 3 or 4 now, where did they end up living?
Okay, well, one is in Ukraine. One was in Canada, Eastern Canada, which surprised us. He was happy to do it for our budget, and we didn't want to be taken advantage of, and we didn't want to take advantage of him. So we just met in the middle and made a win-win offer. And when he said yes, we said yes. That's business. That's how business works. And then I think there was, did I say Ukraine?
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was in the Middle East, Iran. Speaking of where some of the 2 or 3 editors live that we just talked about, we had to work with time zone differences. So it's just something to keep in mind if and when you use Fiverr as a tool, as a resource to hire services. Keep in mind the time zone differences. We had no idea in the beginning. We didn't even think of it. We'd send a message and we're like, geez, he's not responding. Well, there's a little notification right in Fiverr that tells you, oh, your contact is 12 hours ahead or behind you. And so if you're in a big rush, keep in mind the time zones. That might help you out.
Mm-hmm.
The other note to remember is sending files. So we used Google Drive ultimately. Google Drive worked for us, but every time we send a new video to another editor, we have to delete all the old ones in order to gain that space back again.
Would you say that Google Drive ended up being the preferred method to transfer files using Fiverr?
Well, right now, yeah, because it's still the one that we use because there's OneDrive and other cloud devices, but I'm not well versed in that yet. So if you actually use another file transferring method, we'd love to hear about it in the comment section.
Generally speaking, we were a little bit surprised by the overall price point of the services offered on Fiverr. We were expecting to be able to find editors at a lower price than what we ultimately ended up finding them at. Additionally, we learned some things about how the money works on Fiverr that we want to share with you because we think it might help you out. All the prices discussed will eventually be paid in USD no matter how it displays on your screen, regardless of the country you're from. So for example, we're from Canada. We thought we were discussing a $6 service, CAD, but in fact we were discussing a $6 USD service. So just know, whatever prices you think you're paying in your currency, you're going to be paying it in USD. We also learned that even though everything is done in USD on Fiverr, we're from Canada, Fiverr still managed to add a GST tax, which is a Canadian tax, onto our order. Lastly, Fiverr will add a service fee onto your order amount. For example, our last order was $52 USD, and Fiverr added a $5 USD service charge onto that order, which is fully 10%. We thought that was pretty large from a percentage standpoint. Mm-hmm. We're sharing this with you all just so that you have more of a heads up and a realistic expectation of the prices you'll be paying. We wish someone told us and illustrated this to us before we got going on Fiverr.
So just keep in mind that taxes from your country will be added on and the service fee. If you have to budget that in beforehand, keep in mind that it's going to be coming later.
Mm-hmm. In the 5 months now that we've been working with Fiverr, we've been through several editors, and we're just going to briefly summarize some of our experiences here so that it will give you, again, another reference point as to what you might expect. The first editor we identified as a potential candidate, we got to the point where we agreed on pricing, sent them files. They said, yeah, okay, I'm going to work on it right away. Since then and after that, we haven't heard from them since. We hope they're okay, but they disappeared, vaporized. So, okay, let's do the same process again and identify a second candidate that we can work with. And they went ahead and actually did our project for us. They were a good editor. We thought, well, hey, we might be onto something. We could work with this person going forward. Great. We contacted them for another project after this, and they informed us that they found a full-time job and that they wouldn't be able to accept any more projects from us. Okay, back to the drawing board, go through another several candidates. And to summarize, we now have 2 editors on Fiverr that we can send projects to. I would say that they do probably at or slightly below the level of editing that I would do myself, but the advantage there is now that we've delegated this out, and so we're happy to be able to pay money to have someone else take up that time-consuming task for us, and I'll get into that a little bit more near the end of the video. We want to clarify that these experiences of person ghosting us and the other person getting a job. We don't tie any responsibility to Fiverr for any of these events. This is just a product of a business owner working with people to potentially hire, and the associated life events that go along with that. You're going to have some successes and some failures when you're dealing with people. That's just a fact. It's not related to Fiverr at all. Overall, we want to share with you that hiring an editor on Fiverr will take some work on your part to sift through and identify the right candidates for you to work together producing your videos. Once that happens, the real work actually will begin, unfortunately for you, because now you're starting to build and maintain a relationship, which will take some time and effort on both your part and the editor. Hopefully for a payoff in the end once everyone gets to know each other and sort of gets familiar with the expectations. Would we use Fiverr again going forward, knowing what we know now about what it takes to get to the end point of having an editor? Yes, we would, because we've been able to use some of the profits that our channel is making to delegate some of our most time-consuming tasks, and for us, that has value. Even if our videos come out edited at or slightly below the quality that we were getting on our own effort. The ability to free ourselves up to create more content rather than constantly being bogged down in editing software still is of value to us, and so yes, we would use Fiverr again. This delegation has enabled us to go from a very inconsistent posting schedule on our main channel to then posting once per week for 3 months straight. So it made a huge difference in how often we were posting. Did this now consistent posting schedule make a difference in the growth metrics of our channel? That in fact is going to be our next video that we're going to take you through, so stick around for the next one. This is Plan Free YouTube Growth Tips. We'll see you soon.